What's up, otakus? Uh, your tour guide here, and today we're talking top 10 lists for 2024, and we're just I think this is number 4 that we've covered, and this is a really tough list to put together. Um, Now, let me talk about these lists. These lists are not strict. They're rather loose because I just kind of look through my books and think, yeah, this should go on the list. And then you know, I kind of prioritize and tier them. Um, but there are some books that are not on this list because I put them on a different list, whether it be like my top sign books, which are coming up, or, they were already in the top artists book. Uh, so, yeah, this is just, you know, kind of a loose list I put together. Definitely, there are some ones I picked up this year. There are also ones that, um, just are top of mind kind of books. Um, and that there are so many like great X-Men covers. It's really hard to, narrow when you've got such a long history book like X-Men, with so many just great. I mean, with any book actually, whether it be Superman, whether it be any title with a long history, it's really tough to, you know, whittle it down. And uh, there's going to be a lot of disagreement with this list, I'm sure. There's so many great books within this run, and by so many different artists. Um, and just to give you a sense of the kind of conflict, or I guess difficulty we had putting this together, I'm just going to show you some of the books that um, are kind of, I guess, uh, you know, these are the books that didn't make the list, but are sort of honorable mentions and could make the list, or could have made the list. Um, we have X-Men 39. This is just a key key moment. That's a great cover right there. I already covered this as one of my top X-Men covers or books. Jim Lee. I mean, there's no introduction needed here. This is not on the list, but it easily could be, or could have been. But I just didn't add it, um, because that's just. I think it's a book that speaks for itself. Doesn't necessarily need. I mean, it's not a great cover in the sense that it's like telling a good story, whatever. It's just one of those like cool gimmick covers. It's one of those like connecting covers. And so I know, that's what helped sell so many copies back in the day, because collectors wanted to get all of them, right? You wanted to get all of them, connect them, and get the connecting cover ones. So um, that's what, you know, again, great covers do that. This is another Jim Lee book, well deserving of uh, just a great cover. Um, and of course, like a burn book like this, right? Key moment uh, in the run here, the departure of Cyclops. He has to go and find himself after the loss of Jean Grey. So that's kind of where we are. We had some honorable mentions, and you can see, like, yeah, there's just a lot of good covers out there. So um, again, I put together this list. Obviously, a lot of people are gonna maybe disagree or have issues with it, but I'm starting here with uh, X-Men 120 here, and this is the first appearance or cameo appearance of Alpha Flight. What's really interesting about this is one of the first X-Men books I've ever read. Um, you know, and it's interesting. There's not much that goes on in this book. It's sort of this like they're kind of wrapping things up from a previous arc that ended. Just kind of like farewells, and they're traveling back to um, Westchester, and uh, there's sort of this like parallel story running with uh, Alpha Flight. And hey, what's up, fanboy? How you doing, man? Um, but yeah, nothing really happens in this book until the end, right? Until the end, it's like they get the surprise attack from Alpha Flight, and Wolverine just gets like laid out by like Sasquatch, and it's just one of those like um it's just one of those early books, or I shouldn't say early books, but the burn like a burn classic burn, you know, Claremont run. Introduces a great set of characters. These characters would go on to, have their own series. They were so popular, and oh no, hope Ollie feels better. Ah, stomach bugs are the worst. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just got to rest, and um, porridge. Porridge is good for you know stomach issues. Porridge. I would recommend porridge. But anyway, now we got to talk about this particular book. This got graded a 7.0, and this is my issue with CGC. So I submitted this book along with the pressing service CCS, and obviously, they've got a process in place. Maybe they don't press it multiple times or whatever. I'm sure they've got a queue of stuff. This was obvious, I've sent this in kind of like post pandemic as well, right when they're really busy. I mean, this book took almost a year to just press, grade, and get back. So it was not a good experience from the wait time perspective. Um, but anyway, when you look at this book, it's a 7.0. But when you look at this book, it is like super clean, right? I hope you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It's a black cover. You don't really see. I mean, the back is what it is, right? Now, there are spine ticks. I'm not going to try to make it look like it's a perfect book. You can see the spine ticks right there, great color. Um, but really, the reason it got this big grade is because if you look in the light here, it doesn't really break color, but if you look, you see it right there. You see that crease? Okay. Now it doesn't really break color. Doesn't break color. Yeah. Trying to show it in the light so you can see it's a dark cover, doesn't really break color, but it's not fully pressed. The crease is there. It's not really fully pressed out. Now, I think what happened was there was a little bit of, you press it, and the press is supposed to like flatten it out, get that smoothed out. But in this instance, for whatever reason, CCS pressed it, but it there was a reversion, and the crease is still there. You can see it. So now, what's worrisome about this is when I submitted this book, I don't recall the crease being there, and I'm not necessarily. I might have missed it. Even when I look at the photos, like the photos I took before I sent this in, I mean, if you were to take a photo of this, the crease is not going to show unless you get it in the light. So even when I look at the photos, I don't see any indication of a crease. So I don't know if this is something that happened during the pressing process and they just didn't tell me about it, or if it's something that was there before I submitted it. Um, maybe, I don't know. No, I think this is my book. I just I'm a little disappointed with, again, when you send it in for pressing, right? You expect, if that, let's say that was an issue, like I submitted it in this state, that the whole point of CCS is so that it presses out and then this gets the grade bump, right? That was the whole point of pressing all the books. But if you look at this book, again, it doesn't break color, but when you get in the light, it's like that, it's a light, like you can see the impression there on the crease, right there in the corner, right? Hope you can see it. Yeah, I can see it. It's right there. So my question is like, how good is the pressing service if it's gonna, you know what I mean? It's like I paid to press it, they didn't get that crease out, and then I got dinged for it. So, overall, just like, I mean, to be honest, like I could probably get this pressed, um, crack it, press it, and come back much higher grade because I'm telling you, this is, if that presses out smooth, I mean, this is like it's like a 9.0. It's like a, in my opinion, like an 8.5 9.0. I mean, it's a significant bump to this, one of my beloved books. But that's 10 on the list. Number 10, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 120, uh, Byrne Claremont, classic, very key book. This is a trending. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this book. There's rumors um, that they're planning, a cameo, that Alpha Flight's going to make a cameo in the MCU. And that's exciting news. That is very exciting news because what it's pretending is that we'll see X-Men as well, right? When you say Alpha Flight, and it's kind of synonymous with, oh, you're going to see the X-Men as well because they're again, their histories get entwined here, but there's a deeper connection because Wolverine used to be a member of, uh, Alpha Flight. Well, not Alpha Flight, but the leader of Alpha Flight headed up, you know, uh, a Canadian, uh, I guess you'd call it like a, Canadian government, uh, like force, kind of like, it's kind of like, Avengers, I guess, not Avengers. What's the, like the Nick Fury's organization, Shield. It's kind of like Shield, but the Canadian version of Shield, and um, Guardian. and Wolverine were colleagues in that. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Alpha Flight saved Wolverine after he escaped the Weapon X facility. That's okay. That's interesting. Um, was it Alpha Flight or was it Guardian? Because I feel like Alpha Flight wasn't a team yet when Wolverine was part of the was in those experiments. Because they formed later, right? Alpha Flight forms as a team later. In fact, Wolverine doesn't even know these members. But you're right. Like anyway, the histories are interconnected. Wolverine has um, a deep connection with James Hudson, who's Guardian, and that he's Canadian basically, right? Wolverine's Canadian. He worked for the Canadian government. He was this secret agent, um, and yeah, um, when they formed Alpha Flight, um, they were doing experiments on mutants to create these like super soldiers or whatever for the government. Um, and Wolverine kind of gets out of that. Um, and Alpha Flight's trying to get him back in. They're actually they're not after the X-Men, they're after Wolverine. They're trying to get Wolverine back in, um, into their jurisdiction and serving their causes, which is why this whole battle takes place. Again, just a really classic episode in the run, and it's a trending book. Again, just starting off with a really hot book. First cameo appearance of Alpha Flight. Um, really needs more love in the whole Marvel. I feel like Alpha Flight was such a big title when I was during my collecting era, and for it to really drop off to today's I get why it's not popular. Um, Kind of died off during the '90s run of Alpha Flight. Wasn't really going anywhere. Some of the characters had died off and all that. So I mean, it was um, a title that was really popular and then just kind of waned and then didn't have really direction. And it's kind of continued along that track. I don't even know if there's an Alpha Fight run still, but I'm sure the Canadians have to be reading something, right? You got to give them something to read. So I'm sure, and it's basically the Canadian X Men. So a lot of the themes you see in X Men are there in the Canadian X Men, maybe with just a little bit of a twist. All right, yeah, we got a nice little crowd here tonight. All right, so number 9 on the list. This is another book that's, I think, I've always been saying this is a book that doesn't get enough love and attention, and it really should, because prior to prior to this issue, this connecting issue, where you have the 4 covers and all that. um, this was the book that preceded that one, and if you own this book or you know this book, it's a gatefold cover that folds out to 4 individual covers. Um, so this was kind of like the first time we see that gatefold action, 4 covers on an X-Men title, and it's just precedes, of course, the number 1 issue. Um, but yeah, this we see sort of the X-Men in the classic original costumes, kind of redesign on the classic original costumes. This is not long lived though. I don't know. Maybe it didn't, people didn't really like it, but it is a fantastic cover. And I won't, unfortunately, I'm not going to like open it out, but what you do have here is Savage Land, Savage Land Rogue. You've got Magneto there in the background. Um, yeah, and you've just got all the X-Men here fold out. You've got on the other side here, like Storm. Is this Storm? Yeah. No, no, no Storm. Jubilee. Uh, yeah. Anyway, other members of the X-Men on this 275. So yes, just an incredible Jim Lee cover, and I think underappreciated, underloved, but you got Psylocke showing you the glove hand, showing you the glove hand for whatever reason, and then she's got the psi knife there. I don't know. That's a weird pose to like, it's kind of like showing you my glove hand. Um, all right, and let's see here. That was number 9, and number 8 really probably should be a lot higher on the list. I definitely it's like one of my how do I explain it? This is like the first X-Men book I read, and it's what got me into the X-Men. This run of uh, this particular issue is what kind of got me into the X-Men. And then like I said, I read a classic X-Men of the first appearance of Alpha Flight later down the road. And then I just had to like read everything in between, right? Um, but yeah, this is probably one of the best X-Men covers um, to date. I mean, you still see this thing on like T-shirts and like mugs or whatever. It's like, hey, if you probably type X-Men right now and look at the images, this would pop up because this is just such an iconic uh, rendition of that first, giant size issue. And this is a reprint of the giant size. Um, the giant size X-Men. And it's an Art Adams cover. And this is basically for me the imprint of like classic costumes, designs. Yeah, I mean, when you say X-Men, this image and design is sort of the template. And then you have the 90s X-Men, that's another template, but this is for me, this is the template here. That Banshee, Thunderbird, who doesn't make it in the next issue. He dies. Kind of brings them together, his death. He was kind of this like I don't know, I just felt like he was a great character that they should have had, explored more and all that, but it kind of like he kind of comes as this like um he comes in, kind of does his own thing, he's at odds with like Scott and some of the leaders, and then they kill him off. Like he like well, he dies, like courageously and bravely, but like they had to kill the Native American character off, the indigenous character off for whatever reasons. And then of course the only Asian, the Japanese dude, just like splits. He's like, I'm out of here. You know, he's like, I helped you guys out, but I hated the whole experience. I'm just gonna go back to my country, and I'm all about Japan, nothing else. Just came up. I mean, as great as Claremont was, he just did not do good with some of these characters that I thought should have, you know. That's right. That's right. They bring him back, not not him, but they bring back the character, the namesake, right? Um, which is cool. Yeah. And Sunfire, he eventually like he's back in the fold as well. I know in the modern uh in one of the volumes he's one of the core members. I think is that current now, Sunfire? Which is good to see, and they redesigned Sunfire to look cool again, or kind of keep that same vibe. I like Age of Apocalypse Sunfire because he's just like he looks like Ghost Rider who can fly basically. It's pretty cool. All right. All right. Um all right, where are we? That was number 8, and this is number 7. Um and this is one I picked up this summer in Canada, Vancouver, and yeah, it's just burn goodness. It's just first cover appearance of Emma Frost there. Just this great cover, action cover there with her just looming large, the bob cut. It's just great. This is a book I've always wanted to add. We got it this summer, and it's a pretty high grade. It's not perfect. I'd say 8.5, maybe maybe an 8. It's got a little corner issue there. Um, nice copy. But yeah, from here on out, it's you're just gonna see a lot of John Byrne covers because it's just the best artwork on X-Men. I don't think, I mean, this is a bold statement I'm gonna make, but um there's been a lot of great artists on X-Men, Jim Lee included. And I'm counting Jim Lee in this thing, but I'm saying like in terms of story, in terms of establishing these characters, in terms of just the overall kind of like the rhythm and the excitement from episode, issue to issue. This, that run between like 100 to 142, um, where Burns slowly, it's it's these characters are established, right? And it's like Byrne transitions in, um, and kind of takes over the run, and it's that transitionary period where you just have um, all the classic kind of legendary events of the X-Men. But I mean, there are those moments throughout, but I don't. In terms of artwork, I still think this is like um, peak. Like as great as Jim Lee's run was, it didn't have that. mm, It didn't have the uh, impact or relevance to the overall arc of this of the title. Burns books do. Burn Claremont books do. Vern Lee books, yeah, they're great, but it's like you kind of you kind of bring Psylocke into a new environment, right? She's established, uh, redesigned, and reestablished as more like of a fierce assassin type, like electric. She gets trained by the hand, so she's this Electra kind of like 2.0, sexier, I think. But that's the whole, and then you bring in uh, Cable, um, you bring in Savage Land Road. It's a good run. Don't get me wrong, but it's like and artwork. I don't. I think they're on par. But when you're just comparing eras, like yeah, I mean, there's no comparison. No one's going to say Lee Lee Claremont is going to outdo Burn Claremont or even I'm blanking on the other artist's name. Um, Cockrum. It's again, Dave Cockrum kind of establishes the art there and gets it going, and then Byrne just really makes such a big impact. And that's kind of what we're covering here, the impactful books here. This is just a great issue because yeah, this is where so all the X-Men have been kind of captured by the Hellfire Club. Um, they've been they've been captured, or they've been kind of like um, subdued, and it just seems like all hope is lost, right? And then Wolverine's just kind of comes in through the basement and just like infiltrates and rescues them all. So it's just it's really like establishing him as what up, Kingdom of Nerds? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining. So yeah, I mean, this is I think his first cover appearance, right? And just a um, great action-packed issue here. Just Wolverine being Wolverine, kind of doing his like hand ninja stuff, going in there and wreaking havoc and rescuing the team. This is another one very impactful book. This is they're uh, Phoenix just kind of sacrifices herself, and she turns into the Phoenix, sacrifices herself, and saves the planet. Right, saves the X-Men, saves the planet, and all that. But you also just got this incredible cover here. The clothes ripping off. So yeah, well, what number are we at here? It was 876. This is six. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is five. There you go. Number five, 137. Classic. Um, this next one's also well, what to do? I'm going to put this one first. This is iconic cover by, again, one of my favorite artists of all time. That's the crucifixion cover here, Gen X. This is a cover that I just feel like X-Men came it came to life as us Gen Xers were starting life, right? We were very young when I was what? I was probably too young to really enjoy comic books because this Byrne Claremont run was like, we're talking late 70s, early 80s. And I was what? I would be 5 years old. So it's not something I could have enjoyed. But I feel like that was like I said, I went back when they launched the classic X-Men series. I was, by that point, sixth grade, middle school, right? Very into comic books at that time. And when I read that stuff, the Byrne Claremont stuff, I was like, and then I was reading stuff, the current stuff, like this book. I was just like, give me more, man. Give me the classic stuff, give me the current concurrent stuff, and I was just like on board. And yeah, and then a book like this comes out, and you're Gen X, and you're like, yes, like X-Men, right? The X-Men was really, I think, Gen X's comic book. Um, as much as I love Superman, I did not fall in love with the Superman books. I fell in love with the Superman movie, the character, and all that. But when you talk about like, what was I going out and buying each week, or pulling, or like reading like consistently, it was Uncanny X-Men. And this is just the cover of our. I feel like for Gen X collectors, you got it. This is one you have to have. And I know whether you're Gen X or not, you want to get this book. It's just such a badass cover there. And I love that they homaged it in the Deadpool movie, which is great. It was definitely fan service for guys like me, um, who just love this book. And yeah, this is number 4 on our list. All right, we're down to the top 3, and the top 3 are all, um, Burn Burn Claremont books. I guess we'll start with number 3 here. This is just classic. It's part 2 of Days of Future Past. And if you watch the movie is very different from the book, but the kind of the concept is the same. It's like someone goes back into the past to, because the future is like there's this like so let's focus on the movie first, okay? The movie is, you've got these mutants. They're being hunted down by sentinels who are like super evolved killing machines in the future, and they're just wiping out all the X-Men. So you got a handful of X-Men, and they do something very desperate. They send Wolverine back in time, or they send Wolverine's psyche back in time to his like younger body or something, um, to basically end the Sentinel program before it begins. And he succeeds, and then he erases the future, like he creates a new future. Um, and that's the case here as well. Except it's kind of flipped. It's Kitty Pryde goes to the future to prevent the past from happening. And in the future, they do something, and it like resets everything. That's my recollection of the story, right? She goes to the future, not the past, um, and she meets the future X-Men and tells them, "Hey, you gotta destroy this, go into this facility and destroy uh, whatever they're building, and then that'll reset everything." And that's what they basically, it's guarded by sentinels, and he does die. He dies. Um, First of all, it's a future where all the X-Men have been hunted down and killed, and so you got like thing, Storm and uh, Wolverine, and there's one other X-Men that's in this that kind of helps. I don't want to say I want to say it's not Colossus. I think Colossus is gone. Or no, maybe it is Colossus. All right, but anyway, it's like everybody else is dead. Just a handful that work on this plan, and they're killed one by one as they're accomplishing this. And yeah, everybody dies. Storm dies, Colossus dies, and then Wolverine's the last to kind of die. But in that dying action, Wolverine is able to uh, destroy what needs to be destroyed, and that resets the past. The future resets the past, and all that. So I mean, in terms of time travel science, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's how I remember the story. I probably got to go back and read it, but one of the best comic books of all time. That 2 issue Days of Future Past uh, arc. All right, number 2 cover. This is just, I think, if you look at all the Burns covers, there are a lot of great covers, but this one stands out as like, yeah, like just fierce. You got Dark Phoenix. She's crushing the X-Men. She's literally crushing the title there, and you got all these strewn X-Men there. Green cover, flaming red hair, just burn goodness. She looks absolutely cuckoo right there, fierce and cuckoo, and yeah, gotta love this one. Little corner crease on there. You can see it right there, little corner crease, but otherwise, just a fabulous copy on this one. Love this book. Yeah, I think this is my second favorite cover in the run, and I'm gonna show you what's tops. Uh, this is just a classic book. Again, we were talking about it earlier. You got all these you got this wanted or poster with the kind of updating who's dead, who's apprehended, who's still alive, and yeah, it's very different from the movie, but this, again, 2 issue arc is just so well written. It's its own little contained story. Just beautiful 2 issue arc, and again, some of the best covers. You know, Wolverine getting fried by Sentinel, and then you've got Wolverine, like old man Logan Wolverine, claws out with the wanted posters in the back, in his background. It is just, that's just brilliance by Byrne right there. And I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not happy with this grade, or sorry, this grade. Yeah, this is what it is. I knew it was going to come back around this was hoping with the press it would come back like 8.5, but again, I was complaining about the pressing before. CCS pressing, what's the point? They're not going to press out stuff and get you better grades. What's the point of using them? Um, I almost think we just did press it to like get the book somewhat, flat, so it sits flat in these like little things, and that's all they do. They're not really trying to resolve an issue. They're just going to press it, get it flat, put it in this little, the sleeve, and then slab it. So it's not true pressing in that sense. It's just, you know. Anyway, I'm tired of ragging on CGC, but raw books from here on. In fact, I haven't. I picked up slabs only because actually I haven't. I picked up a couple slabs only because like they're signed books, and yeah, I just either they were great deals or signed books, but I don't go out and like try to get high grade books at all. So all the slabs I have are in my collection are from this like sort of initial like, oh, I want to do this, like kind of hop on the bandwagon and get my books graded. But um I feel like it's not all that necessary. Uh I will say it is nice to have your books in slabs. I will say that. But if you want to pay $40 to do that, that's not cool. So for me, like the cost performance, like um I'd rather keep the books raw and have an idea of what the grades are, and then keep that in my collection versus like spending that extra money for it to just come back. If you thought it was like an 8.5, come back a 7.0 and be disappointed and out $40 because you pressed it and didn't do jack with the press. Um, those kinds of things are just like kind of live and or what's the expression? Kind of live and let learn or whatever, learn and let live. If you get a chance, you should Google Armor from Continuity Comics. The first issue has a great cover. All right, I will try that, Roy. Are those guards that went on to be turned into the Reavers? Maybe. I'm not sure. You're referring to the Days of Future Past, right? Yeah, I gotta go back and read it. My memory's fuzzy on it, but I know what Kitty Pryde goes to the future, or no, she's her future self. She enters her future self or something, and then she's like recruiting the X-Men. They gotta like destroy, infiltrate a complex, and then destroy some kind of technology that'll reset the past. And it's a weird one, um, because it in the movie they do the conventional time thing where you go in the past and it changes the future, but in this one it's like you're going to the future to change or prevent something from happening in the past or something. It's a weird one, so I got to go back and read this and you know wrap my head around the science. I got to understand comic science. I'm one of those guys that like comic science. It has to make somewhat sense, or it's a tough sell. But as I'm talking about like flying horses and super powered monkeys and all that, it's that's kind of the way I am. All right, because those are believable. Super powered monkeys. That's a believable thing. Whereas like time travel phenomena, come on, reverse time traveling and all that. It's a bit of a stretch in my opinion. All right, so that is my list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I always enjoy this time, just hanging out with you guys and covering these kinds of lists with my collection. Let me know what you think of the list. Did I live a book off? What book would you have put on this list? Obviously, there's a lot of books that could have made it. I mean, I had to leave a lot of Jim Lee books off this list, and I didn't. I mentioned it before. Jim Lee could have easily been on this list. He could have easily been on the top of this list. But for me, I kind of took approach where like we're talking about the best covers in the run. And Jim Lee definitely has a stronghold on that. But as great as Jim Lee's covers are, like, I'm sorry, I think Burn just it's just Burn. You could this could have just the entire list could have been Burn Claremont books. Uh, this one's a great one too. But I mean, yeah, you just gonna. I just put this list together and what I think, and I think to be honest, as much as I love Jim Lee, he's my favorite artist. As much as I love Jim Lee X-Men books, um, I think cover wise, these the ones I showed off today, hands down, just like there's no debate, right? It's like Burn all the way, um, and that's what revived the X-Men. You know, Cockrum uh, got it going. He got kind of created this new team, and Claremont created this new story around this new team. A lot of excitement, and um, Byrne came in right at the right time as like interest in this uh, new team and this new title, the new direction of the X Men was like taken off. They bring in the incredible artistry of John Byrne and just take the story to another level. Take the just the pace of the book, the the way like you can just like Burn Claremont comic book is just like you can just read through it like it's a like a kid's picture book. You just like boom, 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 just turning pages. Um, and then that sustains it. It's like the X-Men are here to stay, and just keeps it going even through my era, through all these eras. I mean, they're still, you know, Fox X-Men are popular, but I think everybody who watches Marvel or whatever, we're all waiting for, right, the MCU straight up, resetting the Marvel universe with the X-Men and the way it was intended, Fantastic Four. Just I talked about this with my bro Jeff. We're going on Sunday this week, by the way, guys. Saturday we're not. We normally go on Saturdays, but I got uh, a friend coming into town Saturday. Made plans, so Sunday, Jeff and I are going to go on. We're going to talk a lot of stuff. We don't talk too much X Men, but um, we have talked about the whole reset, the Marvel reset, and we just would love to see everything there, right? Spider Man, X Men, not in the Sony universe, not in the Fox universe, but everything there in one. How we see it in the comic books, basically. All right. What's been going on? So, is there anything? I'm gonna just kind of light up the chat here with some questions. Uh, is anybody excited about anything like comic book related? Something you've maybe heard as a rumor, or something that's coming down the road, or something that's just maybe you're excited about? Absolute, you know, Bat the Trinity, right? Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, whatever it is. What are you guys most excited about in comic books right now? Right. All right. Definitely. Yeah. So, the classic X-Men got me into, obviously, you're probably older than I am because you were reading the original Burn Run. But yeah, I got into it a little later, but that's why classic X-Men, even though they're reprints, they did add. It was like two stories. You got the classic, reprint of whatever book, and then you also got uh, a secondary story, all brand new story, um, usually with like up and coming artists or whatever. But um, it added nuance to that original story. It was either something related or something maybe like, post event, or something related to the history of what came out, the resulting history that came out of the book. But it was always an interesting side story uh, that was cool. And they also added little elements, panels here and there within the classic story that also kind of created more nuance to what was going on. Whether it's just explaining some of the background or um, adding depth to some of the characters and stuff, just by adding a few more pages or panels of explanation, you could really accomplish that. So, yeah, I mean, I may just go out and buy a class like one through whatever 100 classic X-Men, um, and just buy reader copies just to read the entire thing. Um, because I really think, as great as going back and reading these are, with those, just having the multi-storied, because they just basically rehash all the classic stories from this entire run anyway. So it's just a good way to go back, enjoy the classic, enjoy those added side stories, sub stories, and that's a good run to collect, actually. Just because they're so cheap. Classic X-Men, they're dollar books all day long. You'll probably buy a bulk of them. Again, if I get the whole series for like 80 bucks or so, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Just read the crap out of them. Um, yeah, X-Men. I think X-Men are not my favorite comic book characters. Um, but I will say it is the comic book I read the most. So from that perspective, I guess you could argue that it is my favorite comic book. But in terms of like uh, the characters that I have more of like an emotional or personal connection to, I'd say the DC characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, like Justice League type characters from the cartoons. Those are This is like a deep childhood connection I have to Superman, whereas, X-Men, I got into X-Men kind of late, like, I wanna say 6th, 7th grade, so, definitely, through middle school and high school, X-Men was, like, top of mind, but as an adult, yeah, I definitely I love collecting X-Men, but I prioritize probably DC characters above them. The Absolute run has been pretty good so far. Okay, I'm looking. I've heard a lot of good things about the Absolute, and is it because it has the added element of being adult targeted, um, or is it something else? Is it simply like, oh yeah, these stories are more intense, they're more adult, they're kind of darker, or is it just a reimagining that's capturing everybody's fancy? Because I'm telling you, like, you got the issue ones will always suck you in. You gotta wait till like issue 4 for these things to pan out, but hopefully it's good throughout. Everybody seems to be liking it, so it's obviously doing something right. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be an absolute flash. Wally West navigating a world without a Flash family. Interesting. Yeah, Wally West is a Flash character that you always didn't. Not that you took Flash all that seriously, but Wally West was sort of like more like he's kind of like the Flash, the kid Flash, right? And he wasn't really like, I don't know. It wasn't. I just felt like they could have done more with the Wally West character. It'll be interesting to see what Wally West looks like in this absolute version. Um, so he'll be the only Flash, I guess, right? That's fine. Um, I heard another rumor, and that is Creature Commandos. They're well, it's not a rumor actually; it's pretty confirmed, right? They're bringing a team to the animated DC animated, um, and I think this is just part of Gunn's like because Gunn is overseeing not just uh, the cinematic features, but also the animated features as well, connected to the DCEU. So this animated I think is a television series, The Creature Commandos, is going to be very relevant and connected to the DCEU. So at some point, they're just kind of establishing them in animation right now, and then they're using Viola Davis as the voice actor for Amanda Waller. So I mean, she was in the movies. She's now voice acting the animated series, and I'm sure they'll bring her in the fray when they um, bring those characters in. But yeah, I'm not too familiar with a lot of the Creature Commando characters themselves, but yeah, they're pretty well established in the comic books. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out, or how they're, I guess, how they're received in whatever story that they come out with. Um, I think the things I'm looking most forward to that have been sort of announced and that we're waiting on is first the Mandalorian movie. And I'm ready for that thing. I think they just released, or they're gonna release a Star Wars feature, right? Okay, yeah, sounds like that's Gunn's plan. Is like he wants to do an animated thing, and it's not targeted at kids. It's like it's just kind of like X-Men '97, right? It's like just this animated version to just establish some of the characters, maybe develop and just build out some of the universe stuff. Um, which I think is a good way to approach it, to be honest. Like, you just can't, you know, you just can't green like like a series of movies to say, okay, we want to bring these characters in, so we're going to get a movie. Even Green Lantern, right? Green Lantern is coming in as a like a TV animated series as well. Um, so I don't know if they're streaming that or what, but I don't, oftentimes the DC stuff comes out just as like DVDs. Um, I don't know if they're going to be streaming this content somewhere, but it would make sense to, I would imagine. Warner Brothers can probably stream the content on any variety of stuff, like whether it's Netflix or probably not Disney, but um, some rival streaming service. But yeah, the things I'm kind of looking most forward to is obviously Superman. Superman's first and foremost, the movie, and I have my concerns. I have my concerns. I'm putting a lot of faith that this gun movie will be great, but I do have my concerns. Um, the other project or the thing I'm looking forward to is uh, Stephen King's The Gunslinger series, or I should say the Dark Tower series. I think they're going to bring the Gunslinger as a serial, like a TV serial, which is what they should have done from the beginning. No Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black kind of thing. Um, but a real author. Hey, sleepy reader, how you doing? My condolences uh, for the loss of your friend, great community member as well. Um, and yeah, hope you're doing well. Um, but yeah, like Gunslinger, I think the Dark Tower series, if they bring that to television, like live action television, that'll be such a compelling watch, especially if they're very accurate with the story. They build the story out as it's said, and told in the books. They build it out like the books. It should be fine. Um, what's the other major thing I'm looking forward to? Um, oh yeah, I was mentioning the Star Wars. Yeah, the Mandalorian. So I know they're doing uh, some Star Wars spin-off movie with Jude Law. Yeah, I think it's way early in production though. I don't know if they've announced anything outside of they're gonna Netflix is or some streaming services putting it out there, but I hope it comes sooner though. I know it's probably gonna take a lot of planning, right? Because it's like what 7 books, but man, that would be imagine having like 10 plus seasons of the Gunslinger, like just that'd be intense. Take a long. I don't know if I could do 10 seasons, but maybe if they could condense it down to like a book, a season a book, so 7 seasons maybe. That's long. I'd like to see it wrapped up in like 5 seasons if possible. Because I feel like you should start it like in the book, right? In the book, it starts with just um Rollin kind of like in the middle of the story, whereas like the origin part of Roland and his characters, they're kind of told in the middle part of the series. And I just wonder if I know in the comic books, you know, they start off with the origin, the how Roland becomes a gunslinger. And I just wonder if they're going to take that approach, like start off with the origin story and then transition into like how he meets his quartet members and all that. Um, but it will be interesting to see how they pull it off. Casting's got to be great. Um, yeah, it's going to be fun. All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the list tonight. And yeah, hope everybody has stays warm. It's getting chilly out there, and enjoy, time with your families this holiday season. And just yeah, I'm gonna go on with Jeff for Double Dragons this Sunday. So hope to see you on there. Yeah, he those crab things lop off his. He gets an infection from that, and the crab thing though I think comes in. I want to say it wasn't in book two in the drawing of the three. Isn't that where he loses the crab hand? I'm getting confused. I'm getting my books confused. I know the drawing of the three is when the door he has the doors open. The doors open out. Where he's like opening doors and pulling out or meeting like the characters he's trying to save, right? And he's like saving the characters ultimately. But yeah, he gets his like hand his fingers lopped off, it's infected, and he's having a hard time holding the gun even, or he has to shoot with his like offhand or whatever. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Again, they're planning it, but they haven't made any really big announcements on. Let me just do a quick search here. So here, this is as of December 2022, the Dark Tower series is currently in development with director Mike Flanagan, who has acquired the rights to adapt Stephen King's book series for television, aiming for a multi season release. Previously, Amazon had attempted a Dark Tower series, but ultimately did not move forward with a pilot in 2020 despite casting actors like Sam Strike as Roland Deschain. Yeah. Yeah, I think book one is where he gets really close to catching up with the man in black, and he ends up just killing a bunch of people like that that the man in black convinces to like that Roland's an enemy, and it just shows like a real like that he's intent on like killing people to get this guy kind of like so he's not like this like perfect character. That's my memory of the first book. And then the second book is when he's like opening up doors and he's like kind of going into different time periods of these characters. Because like Odetta's from the 60s. uh the pusher, the guy, the heroin addict, Eddie. Eddie is um, modern day, and so is the boy. What's the boy's name? Oh, yeah, but the boy is the one that like Roland saves and then lets die and then goes back in time and saves him again. Yeah. So I gotta go back and read it. I gotta go back and read it. It's been so long. Yeah, it was like book one was like a western, and he goes into this town, right, and then like ends up killing all these people possessed by the man in black. That's how I remember it, but gotta go back and read it. And then yeah, book two goes into him meeting the characters, and then book three is I think where they get on the train and go through all these they introduce the concept of the axes, right? The time axes, and there's like animal guardians on the the periphery, like some kind of weird clock or something. And then the clock's turning, and they're kind of traveling through that, right? That those times and worlds. Um, and then four is my favorite is Wizard and Glass, where they again the origin story of when he meets Susanna and his original quartet, his classmates, the gunslinger classmates. They go to this town and they kind of outwit some of the bullies there, the town people, and then they go to all out battle, and everything seems fine until you know um, Rollins' first love is killed in that. They set her on fire, right? And then um, number five, the wolves of Calais. Yeah, they fight these like werewolves. And then six, I gotta go back and read the series. I'm just like piecemealing these from my memory of when I last read them. And one of the okay, yeah, that seems to make sense. Yeah, he was like the Bad in Black, like he was one of his father's like advisors, and then he also like he can shapeshift, right? Because I think ultimately the Man in Black is uh, uh related to what is it, the what's the book, the King book where everybody catches the flu, population is eviscerated, and the survivors, the stand, the death character in that, um Randall Flagger, is it? Yeah, the stand. Randall Flagg, right? He's also like the Man in Black, right? Like they're somehow the same character. It's intimated. The Man in Black is just like death, right? Or yeah, the Man in Black is like death. But the Man in Black is like the ultimate. The Spider King is the one that's like the ultimate, force of evil in this whole thing. The Man in Black is like a servant of the Spider King, and the Spider King is, yeah, he's just one of the most like grotesque like characters that's like introduced in this series. He's just feeds on like living living people, and um yeah, just this is like spider monster hybrid thing that's born, and you know like Roland has an opportunity to kill it, and then it escapes, and like, yeah, I got to go back and read because, okay, truth be told, I've read everything through the last book, which is the Rose. What is it? I think, what's it called? The Rose something. Um, and I only read through half of that book, and then to get that the midpoint of that book is where we get introduced to the Spider King, um, and I stopped reading it halfway through. I stopped reading it on purpose because I was like, I was kind of like, if I read this, it's going to be done. It's over, like, and it was something I started reading in college, and really it transcript. I think the last point I read that was like I want to say 2011 is when I picked up the Rose book, which is the last book in the thing. And that book came out late because Stephen King got in a car accident. He almost lost his life, and the question was whether he would finish the book or not, right? But that's the first thing. Like, that's even what King said. He was sitting there in his like hospital bed, thinking, "Man, am I ever going to finish the Dark Tower series?" As the first thing he started working on when he got well enough to kind of like start writing again, and but it was like he got in this car accident, he almost lost his life. Very fortunate. And he integrates that into the story. He integrates that whole experience into this last portion of the story, which is absolutely mind-boggling because he puts the fact that he's writing the story, and he creates this scenario in the book where Stephen King's in the book. He gets in and they bring the fact that this accident happens, and the character somehow like thwarted, and then he's able to write the story and finish it. So it's just this weird, yeah, it's very like Stephen King esque how he brings that incident into the narrative. But yeah, I purposely stopped reading. I couldn't finish the book because when you could finish a book, like it for me, it's like again spanned a decade almost, right? We're talking about a decade plus of reading a series as the books are coming out. And right, that's a great point. This story was kind of like always with him. And again, that first Gunslinger book came out when I think it was like I want to say 92, right? When that first book came out. And I read it in college. I loved it. And I just had to like, when the next one came out, I had to keep, I think it came out a little before, but I read the first one when I was freshman year. And then I read the second one also soon after. Then it was a while until I read the third one. But anyway, I kept like reading it. And then again, there was that huge gap between book six and the last one. And yeah, when that accident happened, it was just like, is he going to finish the book and all those concerns? And then when the book came out, like I went out and got it, but then I stopped myself halfway through, and I'm sure that book is around somewhere, maybe at my parents' place, but I remember distinctly like putting the bookmark in and just closing the book and saying, I can't finish this right now. I don't want to see how it ends because one, I was worried I, I just wouldn't be satisfied with the ending. But two, once I read it, it would just be officially over. And I kind of didn't want it to end. I kind of just wanted it to be this like, I don't know, like, and to this day I don't know how it ends because that's the beauty of like, there's just no I've been able to avoid all the talk and whatever, so I don't know how it ends. I'm sure it ends beautifully, but I may just go to the library, um, and reserve it and read it before the New Year's out. And this might get just jog all the memories of what happened in the previous stories and all that, but I may just go and do that because I just feel like for whatever reasons I just stopped in the middle and didn't finish it. I did that because I didn't want it to end because it would be like a decade, plus. It was what started reading in '92, so and I put the book down in what 2011, I want to say. So what is that? That's like it's like 20 years, almost 20 years of enjoying a story, a series of books, and now it's 2022. I mean, it's 30 years now. I mean, literally from when that put that book down, another decade has kind of gone by. So I may just put that to rest now. I am very curious as to how it ends, so I want to pick up the book again, finish it off. Finish it again. It's like I think the last 200 pages is all I have left. I think the point where I got stopped reading the last book was where they go into the um, is it a hotel or a hospital or something? Yes, I think it's a morgue where the Spider King is like, and his little servants, they have it's their little hideout, and Jake and Roland go in there, or Jake's waiting outside. Roland goes in with, I want to say Susanna, and they run into the Spider King. They're shooting, and the Spider King just because he's like, I think he's in a state where he can't fight. He's kind of like in a baby spider state or whatever, so he can't really defend himself. So something or someone like they takes him out of there, and that's where I kind of like, all right, that was a good action scene. Let's pause there, and I haven't gone back to that since. So I gotta pick it up. I gotta pick it up. Yeah, King brought the van that hit him and destroyed as part of the healing process. That is how. Okay. Oh, he bought the van. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm kinda the same way, like, if I'm enjoying something, um some books I'll just if I'm enjoying it, I'll just read it right to the end, but, there are some things, like, I kinda wanna savor, right? Um, so, yeah, I can't think of any other reading where I was like, "Man, am I really gonna finish this right now?" Like, kinda like, I'm, like, 100, 200 pages out, am I really gonna finish it? And I remember thinking, like, "I don't want this to end, I don't wanna finish it right now," and I was really worried, like, if I finish this and read it and, like, I don't like it, what then? Like, is it just gonna, like, waste this entire, like, you know, all these years that I've been kind of waiting on this to do it? Alright, have a good night, Damien. Thanks for popping in. Um, yeah, so, again, I love that series. I love Stephen King books. Um, and that's definitely one series I'd love to see come. And again, of course, I would finish the series before I, I read it. Um, Another book I love is Dune, and again, when I read Dune once when I was very young, and I would say middle school, and then most recently, maybe I want to say 7, 8 years ago, and each time I read that, it's just like there's just so much to the world and to what's going on. Um, but I have a very distinct, and some of it's influenced by the movie because I did see the movie, the David Lynch version. I like the David Lynch version. I don't think it's horrible. But when I was reading it the second time through, I in my head I imagined a completely different set of characters, set of events, and just in my head different, um, sort of a more modern kind of view of what the buildings and things would have been like on Arrakis and the Caladan and those other planets. Um, and then I did watch the latest Dune movie, the Villanueva version of the first one. I haven't watched the second one, um, but I am curious to watch the second one. I hear it's good. I mean, how can it not be good? You got, you just got. It's basically part two, right? Where the the Muad'Dib comes and he leads the Fremen to basically beat back the Harkonnens, right? And the Sardaukar. Um, but Dune 2 is another movie like I really don't have interest in watching because I just feel like it's not going to be. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be good, but it's just going to alter already what my notion, because that's what the first one did. I just thought the first one they took a lot of little liberties. Um, you know, my vision of Paul's father, um, Duke Leto, was much different than what was portrayed in the Villanueva film. Um, Even Idaho Duncan, right? They made I think they give the part to like Jason Momoa. Um, I don't know. I knew that's not how I envisioned Duncan, right? Um, but yeah, it's always weird when you have live action because that's the I think the problem of reading a really good book and then having to deal with the disappointment of how the live action is translated to you. Um, it's always a little bit of a there's a disconnect there, uh, and it rarely ever gets done well. So maybe I shouldn't be excited about the Gunslinger series because they might just botch it up. Um, and I could see that happening. There's just so much there that unless you have a director really dedicated to bringing what you think are core aspects of the story to the again, I think a serial multiple season serial allows you to do that, which is why I'm so excited. It's not just a film. It's going to be when you like Dune really should have been a serial as well. Should have been just more, you know, thoughtful, kind of like episodes with a lot of depth and scene building, you know. But yeah, um, I definitely want to like now that I've talked about this a little bit. Hey, what's up, Brandon Metro? Now that I talked about this a little bit, I definitely want to like go to the library and reserve the last book in the Dark Tower series because it's yeah, I need to finish it. I need to finish it like King finished the book. I need to I need to who knows? I don't want to die without knowing the ending. So gonna definitely check it out, read it, and then I'll let you know my thoughts on the ending. Um, all right, well, it's getting late. I do have to get to bed. Thanks for hanging out, guys. It was always fun to chat, go over my like list for the year. Hope you enjoyed it. Check us out on Sunday. Jeff and I are going on live this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. But sorry, that's 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys are free, just drop in, uh, let us know. You know, say hi in the chat, and hopefully you can join us. All right, peace out. See you in the next one.